大家好，我是孤立，我在新疆。你们看，新疆下雪了。
To an unexperienced viewer, these Uyghur influencers would just look very genuine. These women post about the most mundane things like puppies or travel or makeup. But then embedded in this lifestyle content, there are hidden subtle propaganda messages.
而有的人，你们没有资格颐指气使说我们。
I believe the main aim of these channels is that of whitewashing the human rights abuses.
Further evidence of the harsh detention and indoctrination of a people, not for what they've done, but for who they are.
Every single provision in the United Nations Genocide Convention violated by the Chinese government's treatment of Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities.
You know, they would win over algorithms because this content is very fresh and it catches people's attention.
These people, they slander us for nothing.
We believe that Beijing's propaganda machine is refining its techniques. They have basically succeeded in controlling that within China's borders, but now they're attempting to control the narratives outside of their borders as well. My name is Darian Pyonbat and I'm a China analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. I focus on the intersection between China, human rights and technology. We started noticing these ethnic minority influencers that kept popping up in our searches. The algorithm kept suggesting these videos to us, so we decided to look more deeply into it. My team and I went through 1,700 videos. These women work for private companies, but because they operate in China, they have to abide by CCP laws and regulations. So they would be promoting socialist values and they have to by law. The problem with these videos is that their link with the propaganda apparatus is not as direct as with party state media or people who appear on Twitter and, you know, have official state-linked accounts. Xinjiang is the westernmost region of China. Xinjiang is very different from other provinces in China. In fact, it is called the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Uyghurs are predominantly Muslim. They are very culturally distinct from the Han Chinese.
Since 2017, China has rounded up over 1 million Muslim Uyghurs into so-called re-education camps.
These camps are, in fact, just indoctrination and often forced labor camps, where a lot of these people are still detained.
The US State Department has called what China is doing to your Muslim minority a genocide. Also, Canada says that. Also, the Netherlands say that.
Birden açıp surakka çıkmış. Öyle yandı köyde çiğqırgan avaz çıketdi, tayaqның avazı.
Ben buğa üçün, Uyghur buğa üçün açtaqıldı. Kişende putumda kişem bilen 1 yıl 3 ay 10 gün çıkıkça ben aş kişem bilen putumda kişemden sürdüm 5 kiloluk kişem.
The UN finally published a highly anticipated report on the human rights situation in Xinjiang. They came to the conclusion that there is credible evidence that grave human rights violations have and are still taking place in Xinjiang.
Hello， 大家好，我是00后的古丽。
Hello， 大家好，我是迪娜。
We started seeing all these ethnic minority influencers pop up in this series of videos. The thing that stood out to us was that we were on YouTube, which is a platform that is actually banned in China.
你在新疆可以负责任地告诉大家 ，HM 和西方媒体的报道纯属子虚乌有。
Most of these accounts started popping up from mid-2020.
古丽，你看，我在去邻居家的路上找到了一只小狗哎。
So to an unexperienced viewer who doesn't know about what is happening in Xinjiang, they would just look like genuine lifestyle videos. But then embedded in this lifestyle content, there are hidden subtle propaganda messages, and then you also have the more overt, strictly propagandistic messages that are embedded in the videos.
Xinjiang is the same as other places in China. People live and work in peace and happiness.
Another disturbing allegation that the Uyghur population has been forced to engage in slave labor.
The cotton production in Xinjiang has been under a lot of international attention and pressure because of allegation of forced labor.
所谓中国新疆地区存在强迫劳动，完全是子虚乌有。
These influencers started publishing a lot of videos about how amazing Xinjiang cotton is and how great quality it is.
你们看，我身后是一片雪白雪白的棉花地。你们想了解新疆的棉花吧？
But then they went as far as, interviewing people who owned, the majority of these cotton plantations.
那您以前有没有这样子邀请一些工人们过来，就是采过棉花？
以前有过这样的事儿
啊，多久以前？
那就是10年了吧？那就10年，最少这10年了。
Big Western brands are now facing a very big boycott in China. Why? For taking a stand against the alleged use of forced labor in Xinjiang in the production of cotton.
So here Guli is doing a piece to camera and talking about the H&M controversy.
最近也没怎么关注新闻，不查不知道，一查真搞笑。原来是一家叫 H&M 的瑞典服装企业，以强迫劳动等等原因作为借口，开始抵制咱们的新疆棉花。H&M 干的确实是让人匪夷所思。
I think the technique behind this propaganda push is to actually flood the information environment with random content so that when you search for Xinjiang or search for Xinjiang cotton or forced labor, this is the content that comes up and not all of the investigations recording the human rights abuses.
To the international community, China has a message that its Xinjiang province is a wonderful land.
The Chinese Communist Party would like a depiction of Xinjiang as an idyllic land of ethnic harmony.
我为什么会选择回到农村？因为我们这发展也是挺不错的。
Covert propaganda messaging is still linked to state policies, but without necessarily expliciting it. So about how ethnic minorities live in harmony in Xinjiang, or about how developed the region has become.
我们新疆人的生活过得还是非常美满快乐的。在我们新疆看病，就是我哪天我身体不舒服看病的话，是80%都可以报销的。
The assimilation of ethnic minority groups has always been a priority for the Chinese government. Ultimately, the Chinese Communist Party wants these people to feel primarily Chinese and belonging to the motherland of China.
Kommunizm sistemasındaki robot insanlarni kurashtirish, tilingni, madaniyatingni, hamma narsani ochlarning bosgan qilipiga tushagan holatda kommunizmcha sotsializmda yashashga sizni majburlash.
这些事实真相，炮制散布大量涉疆谎言谣言，企图抹黑中国的形象。
I think part of the efficacy of this content is that it creates plausible deniability for the Chinese government, sort of showing that there are Uyghurs out there who are willing to stand by the Chinese government and openly say that they are fine and they're not being suppressed or exploited.
There is no genocide and no forced labor.
But one side has very credible, solid evidence.
What is it you want the world to understand about the Uyghur experience?
And the other side has set up propaganda videos. Watching these videos, I just feel very uneasy about how these women are being somewhat instrumentalized. I still think, they're being used as a pawn by the Chinese Communist Party to just debunk allegations against its human rights abuses.
再见，拜拜，我们下期再见。